Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Liberty Libations. My name is Jake Green, joined once again by Alden, Zane, and Steven. How are y'all doing tonight?
Cheers.
Pretty good.
Great.
Cheers. We got anything special we're drinking tonight, or usual?
It's a good night when you have a Negroni, honestly.
Just homebrew, strawberry blonde.
Homebrew.
A home recipe where the main ingredient is orange juice concentrate because I happen to have some left over.
I gotta say, that sounds so bad. Like, I hate orange juice in general. Orange juice mixed with stuff from orange juice concentrate sounds like a lot.
The color looks green.
It's not a very appealing color, really.
No, it's not.
It really could use a glow up now that it's being featured on a podcast. It's kind of an orangish. No, it's mixed with orange liqueur, tequila, and chocolate liqueur. Which, if I was being really generous, I would describe the color as burnt orange. But if I were being not so generous, I would describe it as mud.
Baby poop.
Baby poop.
Yeah.
There we go. Gosh, why did you choose the chocolate liqueur to go along with those other mixtures?
Well, orange and chocolate is a classic flavor combination. So,
is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You get those chocolate oranges at Christmas time. You got to slam them on the table.
Yeah.
I have never had.
You never watched the Food Network?
Not enough, I guess. I've never heard of a chocolate orange.
Wow.
Or like orange chocolate hazelnut cake or something. Or
you're just saying a bunch of words that don't go together.
you put a refined enough palate.
Yeah, you're the odd one out. At least I'm gonna highlight that, Jake.
That's fair. I'll take it. I don't mind whatsoever. All right. Well, y'all, what has anything happened in y'all's world and the LP world this week that we should talk about before we launch into our topics? Steven, you got anything?
Josh Smith was on Tim Pool. I didn't get to watch that yet, but yeah,
I haven't watched it yet.
Seemed like a good time.
Spike Cohen was on there as well. That was a good episode.
And Dave Smith and Scott Horton are beefing now.
Are they really?
Apparently, Dave quoted him without giving him proper recognition or something.
Oh, okay, whatever. I don't care. But I did see.
You had me concerned for a minute.
I did see that part of the problem was the #1 news podcast on Spotify for the past week.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
And the #2 podcast was Liberty Libations, I would assume.
Yeah.
2, but preceded by a couple of zeros and a decimal. Like,
maybe so.
Is Jake frozen?
I think all of y'all went away for that entire thing.
I think you went away.
Everything that we just talked about. Okay, well, yeah. I'm just saying on my screen, everybody went away. Man, that was weird. My internet went out for a second, even though it's a bright and sunny day, and I've had no problems with it until now. That's great. All right. It looks like there's going to be a wildfire that starts.
Let him in.
Let him in.
Dadgum, y'all. My internet is.
Cyber challenged.
Yep. Go Gadget Starlink.
Yeah. So does this mean?
Yep. But at least we got his Tucker Carlson face. At least he closed on that.
All right, I'm back. I think
we're live, and I thought we started at 8:05. What's this on-time thing?
We're becoming a new Libertarian party, Nick. It's a Libertarian party where we show up on time and we take things seriously.
Well, I am also.
Said this was a Libertarian party.
I'm also the third person here not drinking whiskey. I guess I am drinking homemade mead. Yeah.
How is it?
Oh, how about that?
Pretty good. Better than I would have thought it would turn out.
What's the gravity on it?
I don't know. Didn't check it before bottling it. It tastes strong.
Okay.
Tell us by the end of the episode, then, I guess.
It tastes strong, so that's all that matters.
Good evening, Grumpy Gnome. All right. Yeah, my internet, y'all, it has been working perfectly until we started streaming. So that's a bit suspicious in my.
It waited until it didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's launch into our first first story. For some reason, I keep getting this message on all of my Instagram stuff, even though I haven't been on Instagram basically all day. This is a longer video. We're going to watch the whole thing, and let's do it.
Thank you. Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to with
The Revolutionary
slavery and slave trade. That is what was, that is the reasoning behind them not wanting to display.
The Gadsden.
Yeah, everyone knows.
The don't tread on me.
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag. Okay.
Her face
Okay,
is
so
so annoying.
Agreed.
What is going on with this?
What's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that take stuff out of his bag and go back to class. Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying. And then he said you were close. So I was like, oh.
Y'all got to start talking for a bit. I'm gonna
That's
log
all
back
right,
out,
yeah.
log back in.
So we got the basic gist of it here is some busybody Karen, which, let me go ahead and remind you folks, and all love and respect to my wife.
Government
and
school
all.
teachers are government employees still.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go. And statistically, they test the lowest on all the test scores. All love and respect to my wife and her alma mater and people in that profession. But as a demographic, school instructors, government school instructors, are at the lower end of the academic prod. It's just kind of how it is. And now, you get this evidence more and more by these people that try to inject morality into their teachings. They think they're there to, I'm there to, shape young men, all that kind of stuff. And it's like that, you're there to educate. You're not there to inject your morals and things. And it's crazy that, this is the kind of stuff that's coming in the wake of taking prayer out of school. I mean, the two might be unrelated. I don't know. But this is the kind of stuff you get when you have compulsory education on this level, that you just wind up getting the bottom of the barrel of the people that are actually instructing. Is she even a good teacher?
I would even just say that what's more troubling is how much she just kept, because I watched the video before this, and how much she just kept going, it's the policy, it's the rule, and she's just like, but avidly enforcing it, and there's no way I would enforce that. I don't care, who told me, like what marching orders it was, and there's absolutely no way. And another point to like the government employee, the teacher thing or whatever, they seem to be very much like just in step with, what's being handed down as sort of like the marching orders kind of a thing, which is frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I happened to notice that everybody in that room was sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs also invented by a slave owner. So
we didn't even start trivia yet, and Zane's got the random facts of the day.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Also, the terrible governor of Colorado defended.
Hey! Reason Magazine told me he's the most libertarian governor in the country.
My bad.
Because he locked people down during COVID.
That's my bad. Yeah,
and he favors red flag laws.
I forgot that reason is reasonable. I forgot about that. But Jared Polis defended the Gadsden flag after the student was removed from class in Colorado Springs. Like, that's the fact that dummy decided to go against what his teachers in his state were saying is pretty funny, and that makes that lady look even dumber than she already did.
And just based on those two facts alone, that you can put these two on opposite ends of each other here, that tells me that there's possibly a teachers union in the area. And that's, once government employees unionize, this is the kind of crap you get. If they're allowed to lobby together to get more of your money with no extra output, all you get is extra bureaucracy. Oh, well, we have these extra rules in place. Okay, what does that do for efficacy? Huh?
That is the absolutely perverse thing about public sector unions, is that they're unionizing against you.
Right.
You are the one that they're trying to extract more money from in this situation. But it's way worse than private sector unions because at least, there is some sort of incentive for the owners of the business to, have good relations with their labor force, but also still providing products that people want. With the public sector union, the people who they're negotiating with, the politicians, are not actually like the people who have to care whether the service is good or bad, because they can make you consume the service regardless of how bad it is. But then, they're also the ones that can get campaign donations from the very public sector unions that they just acceded to the terms of.
There we go. Well, and it's abuse of power on the teacher's part too, because she's offended for somebody that might not even exist or be a part of this equation. Was there a
better person for it?
Exactly. Was there a minority kid in this class who was like, hey, that represents slavery, that's offensive to me? Or was she just automatically offended for them?
There's also the concept
Springs, I don't think there's any minorities kids in the class there.
We are talking about Colorado Springs. So
isn't there
a prime example of that would be the NFL? Okay, so you have the Washington Commanders, because the Redskins team was racist, right? So now you have an Indian tribe that's lobbied together that were like, bro, that was preserving our heritage for the last 80 years. We want it back. Bring back the Redskins. Yeah,
there's a petition going around.
Wow.
Yeah, and now the team is not recognizing them. And they're like, that's racist because now you're saying we don't exist.
Dang.
Dude, when all the woke stuff went down with that, my high school changed from the Indians to the Bulldogs, and it just pissed me off to no end. They were trying to get rid of that back when I was there, and I was like, you motherfuckers aren't doing this. And then
should have changed it to the Shih Tzus.
The weaker, the weak generation showed up, and they didn't put up a fight. And actually, it was just done in the middle of the night when the George Floyd thing happened. It was like, oh, the board unanimously decided that we're no longer doing this, and it's like, oh well, fuck you guys.
Yeah, well, and do y'all remember growing up watching the Atlanta Braves and Chief Nakahoma would come out?
Yeah.
No, I'm from Pittsburgh.
Those were the days, man. They had a teepee in the outfield. There was a dude dressed up in Indian. He'd get out and start dancing. And
you had the Buccaneer.
Yeah, the Pirates fan.
Which might be racist in its own way or something.
Right. Probably. It's racist against Somali pirates, I'll tell you.
You're exactly what I was going to say, right?
A little update with the Jaden situation.
Is that the kid with the backpack?
Yep. Freaking Ron Paul fan here. Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
He's got Shiba Inu.
I saw the Shiba.
Yeah. What else has he got in here? What are some of these? I can't zoom in.
What an interesting flag to pick a fight with as a symbol too, because it's the very symbol that says don't tell me what to do or not to do. It's painfully ironic to watch.
You're literally making this flag needed.
Yes, you're calling upon now the very meaning of this flag, which the second thing I was going to say there is I have never heard anyone say, not even a rumor or a rumbling about this being associated with slavery in any way. I've never there's the Confederate flag.
There's been in the corners of the internet there's always something's racist about everything, right? So
I guess I wasn't in that corner.
The communists are trying to erase our history. Anything about our nation's founding represents slavery or some kind of awful history that's to make us ashamed of how we were founded. You bring up Christopher Columbus and all they want to talk about is smallpox blankets.
Columbus,
because germ theory didn't exist at that point. So
Columbus I have some issues with, honestly. That's a whole other topic.
No one had there's
this
other things, but germ theory didn't exist until what's his name saw cells in the 1800s.
It was early 1900s. We discovered yeast was a living organism. So I think it was around the time that we had microscopes. That'd be early 1900s.
Right, everything before then was miasma theory.
Miasma theory. Disease was transmitted through smells. Awful smells got you sick.
Who was it that made the
in a certain way? It was it was a reasonable assumption based off of kind of what we know now, but it's just not it's not the real thing, right? So
Zane, do you know this? Do you know who made the convex lens first and put it on his hand and saw the little things crawling around, and he called them wretched beasties?
If memory serves, the first person to
Dutch
develop
name,
something
right?
that Leeuwenhoek, who
Is
I
that
think
right?
was all the way back in the 1600s, is the inventor of the first thing that would be recognizable as a microscope.
I think it was like during the Renaissance.
That's
like,
the name I was thinking. It was something.
1860s germ theory.
Yeah, I don't know about germ theory, but
I haven't made clips of this show in a while, but I'm definitely making a clip called "Wretched Beasties."
that was like
that's our overtime set. That's our overtime segment. That's on a show on Rumble only.
Yeah, Liberty Libations (Wretched Beasties).
Now, if this kid has a Kekistan patch on his bag, I'm sending him a Christmas card.
Oh.
Yeah, how much love
I miss when that was a thing. Like that. Did you ever see that MSNBC special report on it was called Kekistan Rising? I watched that clip on YouTube like 20 times because it was absolutely hilarious. Like they were trying to be serious, and every clip is just someone doing a meme troll.
Oh yeah, that was the way we would get the Antifa pages shut down too. Because right after Rolling Stone dropped that article saying that the floppy pigeon, the floppy head pigeon was racist, so all you had to do is go on the Antifa pages and just spam that bird, and it would get shut down.
Spam that bird. That sounds so stupid.
I know.
People on the internet, I mean, the things we do on the internet, what if we did all of these things in real life to people? If like just in real life, everybody just showed up with signs of that stupid pigeon, like that stupid bird, and just memed the crap out of people in real life.
I mean, back in my day, we had a Xerox machine in the house. We used to Xerox our butt cheeks and put that in the mailbox.
About the same thing.
Yeah.
That'll get you taken down too.
That is pretty great. All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna do this early. It is trivia time. Here we go. All right. 8/31/23. This day in history, Ruby Ridge and Flag on the Play. The categories, you all know the rules. We're not going to go through them. The all-time scoreboard is Zane 8, Nick 3, Jeff 2, Stephen 1, Audience 1, Alden 1. So, today's a day where Alden could double his total score.
As could I.
So could
the
Steve.
First round is this day in history. I will be reading, as usual, the entire question, and I will try to note who puts their hand up first. Let's do it. Actually, let me get this thing so I can see. There we go. All right, here we go. First question. On this day in 1888, which famous serial killer claimed his first victim? Alden.
Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper.
That's what got me kicked out of school one day. There was a kid in school. He made T-shirts. It said, "All work and no play makes Jack the Ripper." And there was like 3 dozen of us wearing the shirt one day, and all the teachers were like, "No, all y'all over to the side. Get that out of here."
I had a different thing pop into my head when you were like, "That's what got me kicked out of school." It's like, you killed someone? Like,
yeah, that would get you kicked out.
Yeah, that'll get you.
All right, question number 2. On this day in 1897, Thomas Edison patents his first camera. What is it called? Zane.
The Cinescope?
Nope. Alden, you put your hand up for like half a second. Were you trying to answer?
I was, but now I'm going to let everyone else go.
All right, Steven, go.
I'm going to go with the Edison camera.
Wrong. Nick.
The photoscope.
No. Alden, it's your
Is it a silver graph or something like that?
No. Y'all have 10 seconds. Nick.
I stole this from Tesla.
That's a better name than what it ended up being. Grumpy, the Instagram.
Yeah.
Joel Jones, you get the point for the audience, brother. It is the kinetograph.
Dang it.
Bravo, audience.
Is Joel Jones a new watcher? I don't recognize him from.
I don't recognize him either. Joel, thanks for tuning in
welcome.
to the show. Welcome. Here we go. Next question. On this day in 1955, William Cobb demonstrated the first ever car in this category. What powered it? Zane.
Electricity.
I mean, electricity has powered many cars. Be more specific.
Solar power.
There we go. Solar powered car. All right. Next question. On this day in 1935, FDR signs what act? Dang, I think that was Nick.
Whichever one steals the gold.
No, Stephen.
The New Deal.
Hang on a second. Let me.
Pretty sure that's a collection of acts.
Yeah.
I think that was.
The old deal then.
So actually, this is interesting. I didn't. I should have done a little bit more research on this. It was signed. Looks like it's been signed multiple times. I might have to void this question.
Void it.
Yeah. The answer is Neutrality Act.
Ah.
However, there are multiple Neutrality Acts, which I had no idea.
Do any of
happened-
them actually keep us neutral, or are they all just like a pretense for war?
First, let's see. No, they're all pretense for war.
Yeah, we move our ships closer and closer to them and say, "Stop touching me! Stop!"
Yeah, but there were
I'm not
three of them
I'm not
were
touching you.
signed.
Yeah.
How
Three-
dare you don't like that we put nukes on your border?
3 of them were signed during the 1930s. So that question is voided. All right.
The real question is whether neutrality is a really convoluted acronym.
I don't know if we're doing that quite yet. I mean, that's a today practice to sell it to the dummies.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, next question. On this day in 1997, what famous member of the royal family died? Zane.
Princess Diana.
Nailed it. Not the hardest one, but they're not all going to be hard.
But the fastest hand, though.
Yep. Next question. On this day in 1991, what country declared independence from the Soviet Union? Alden.
I think there's 2. I think it's Kyrgyzstan and like Uzbekistan or something.
It's only Uzbekistan, and you got it. Right.
Wow.
I thought it was both.
They have bone in their brain anyway.
I think Kyrgyzstan was a different day.
Oh, okay.
But it was around the same time.
Okay,
and
that's
then,
right. It is this day in history, not this week or whatever.
Yeah, Joel, Ukraine was last week.
That was last week, actually.
Yeah, we had the
Last
same
week,
question
yeah.
last week. I
Uzbekistan,
just trying to remember which one it was.
Uzbekistan is inferior to Kazakhstan. Very nice.
King of the
My name is
castle.
Borat.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, bone in their brain.
Here we go. On this day in 1945, which Irish singer-songwriter was born who went on to write mega hits such as Into the Mystic, Domino, and Brown Eyed Girl? Steven?
Oh man.
Stephen waved emphatically, but was it before me?
Alden, you got to go towards the screen, man. You can't just put your... I can't see
Dang it.
Just put your hand up.
Gotcha.
I've told you a million times.
That's true.
Wrong.
It is
Alden.
not Bob Seger, but I think it's Van Morrison.
It is Van Morrison.
Van Morrison. Brown Eyed Girl.
Several songs in 2020 that were stridently opposed to the lockdowns. It was awesome.
In 2020?
Yeah, they were called like Born to Be Free. One's literally called No More Lockdown.
No metaphor there, yeah.
Wow. Which, by the way, tonight's a
can't
blue
remember
moon.
what the
You know,
third
if you
one
want to
is.
break out Moon Dance with the lady, play some Van Morrison.
Say, Alden, don't raise your hand like you're a third grader in a classroom. Hit that camera, man. All right, next question. On this day in 1998, which country launches its first satellite? Zane.
China.
Wrong. Steven.
Soviet Union. No, excuse
Wrong.
me. Russia.
Wrong. Nick.
India?
Nope. Alden.
France.
Wrong.
Dang it.
Open back up to the floor. Zane.
Japan.
Nope. Nick.
Italy.
I love Alden. He's like using the force on the camera. Alden.
You will say it's France, yeah.
Alden, pick.
Italy was not correct.
Italy was not correct.
Britain.
Nope. Steven, you get one guess, and then it's going to either the audience or to
Sudden death.
I'll go with Spain.
Wrong. It is North Korea.
I would have not guessed that.
Yeah.
As I did not guess that.
I didn't even know that they'd gotten satellites up there.
Yep.
Permanent ones.
On this day in 12 AD, which Roman emperor was born whose brief reign was marked by unpredictable and tyrannical behavior, ultimately ending in his murder? Nick.
Nero?
No. Zane.
Caligula.
Freaking Caligula.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Dang
So
it.
many options on that, though.
Yeah, but thank you for the writing style, though.
There are not so many
Calligraphy,
options.
is that from that?
There are not so many options because there's only one that was born on this day. During that
Right,
time.
like as far as tyrannical Roman emperors, there's a lot of good ones.
Somebody look up Nero's birthday. Yeah,
that's true. All right, next question. On this day in 1973, this legendary and prolific director died. He directed 140 films, primarily in the genres of Western and military history. Who was it? He's known for Westerns. Zane.
Jackie Chan.
Oh my God. Call back to 10 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is sad. Alden.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
What? The audience gets it. It is John Ford. Thank you, Mitch. You're the man.
Did he direct The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
That's a good question. He directed so many daggone movies, man. Like
I don't know Western directors.
Many movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Clint Eastwood, but he's still alive.
That's why I was going to make that same statement. Yeah.
At the end of round 1, Zane 3, Alden 3, audience 2, Steven and Nick nothing.
You gotta call me once in a while.
So today is the anniversary of the end of Ruby Ridge. So I thought this would be a great category. So here we go. Per usual, if it's asking for a number, you each get one guess. So you better make it count. All right, here we go. What was the name of the informant who befriended the Weaver family and played a role in escalating tensions before the standoff? Alden.
Jake Tapper.
No, wrong. Nick.
Joe Biden.
No, that would have been a good one, though. All right, I don't think y'all are going to get this. Steven.
Janet Reno.
God.
No, she's just the one who ordered people to die.
Zane, it's up to you, buddy. So I'm not waiting another 10 seconds for this. Go, Zane.
Last
go.
man.
Alden Hardee.
Oh my gosh. Kenneth,
what year
I don't
was
even
this?
know how you pronounce his last name. 1992.
Okay, I was 2 years old, so that's probably true then.
Yeah.
Barely alive.
Grumpy gnome.
Fatally?
Fatally, yeah.
Jackie Chan.
Which fatally, what a interesting name to have for that.
Fatally? Like it sounds like fatally? Like
Yeah.
that's interesting.
All right, next question. These are worth 2 points, by the way. How many days did the standoff last? Zane.
7.
Wrong. Alden.
8.
Wrong. Steven.
9.
Wrong. Nick.
13.
All right. Steven. Oh, audience gets it before we had to go to rock, paper, scissors. Joel is crushing it. It is 11.
Nice.
From August 21st to August 31st of 1992. Joel is crushing it tonight. Mitch came in right after it and said 11 as well. Bravo. All right. Next question. What was the original charge that Randy Weaver was acquitted of, even though the standoff resulted from a dispute related to this charge? Nick.
It was sawing off the barrel of a shotgun.
Nailed it. Possessing an illegal sawed-off shotgun got his...
I wasn't even going to be that specific, so I'm glad Nick went first because I was going to say just an illegal weapon of some kind. I didn't know the sawed-off part.
I would not have got you the point.
Yeah, I would not have given that to you. Hang on. There we go. All right. Next question. How much money did the U.S. government eventually settle with the Weaver family in a wrongful death lawsuit? Zane.
$5 million.
Okay. Steven.
20 million.
Okay. Nick.
I'll take $1, Drew.
Alden.
He even called him Drew.
I like gold.
Alden. Guess.
1 million. 1 million.
Zane wins it with 5 million. It is 3.1 million.
That is
gosh, Grumpy Gnome,
frustratingly-
you came in right at the end. You'd have gotten it. Audience would have been up even more. All right. Joel said thought it was failure to appear. That happened, I believe.
It's both.
That's after.
Yeah.
After he was charged for the shot. After he
Correct.
was coerced into
The initial charge was the gun, and then he didn't appear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
because it was the ATF who were trying to get him to basically be an informant about the white supremacists in the area, and they so saw off his shotgun barrel for us, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna saw off the shotgun barrel for you. Apparently, it was like hounding him until he's like, fine, I'll just saw the damn barrel off, and then they're like, oh, you broke the law.
Is it really? Was it like an entrapment?
I was
kind of
basically
thing?
like, it was a complete entrapment deal.
Hmm.
And then
I didn't
he
even
was
know
like, yeah, and so he was, and actually the failure to appear wasn't, as far as I think, the way it went was they changed the court date on him, and that's what led to the failure to appear. It wasn't like, well, this is bullshit and I'm not showing up. It was like they didn't inform him properly.
Oh.
Their date. They changed it or something, and
Deep cuts trivia.
Interesting. All right. Final question of this round. Here we go. What broader anti-government movement did the Ruby Ridge incident help expand across the U.S.? Nick.
the militia movement.
You are darn right, buddy.
I was almost certain that one of the answers was going to be Lon Horiuchi.
Oh.
To this.
Tough. I'm glad it wasn't, just so you didn't get that point.
Well, I mean, I figured who murdered Randy Rhodes' wife while she was holding their baby in her arms. Answer: Lon Horiuchi.
Yep. Nope. I didn't want to do any of those because I thought they were too easy. All right, final round. Flag on the play. This is all about flags of the United States. 3 points each. Here we go. In what year did the 48-star flag become official, and how long was it used? You must get both. Zane.
So it was adopted, I'm pretty sure, in 1912, and I'm pretty sure the 50-star version was 1959, which means 1959 minus 1912, 47 years.
You got it.
Take a
Wow.
lap. No, leave. You're out.
Man. That's
Zane-
impressive.
Funny, Zane.
Zane's going to have to be the trivia master at some
I've
point.
been
so that
telling you this.
I'll
I've
be
been
in
telling you this
the,
for weeks.
Yeah, well,
Zane needs to be the one making trivia because he wins too much.
yeah, it is ridiculous. Although I feel like he'd make trivia that would be impossible for everyone.
What's in
I-
my drink right now?
He would just do Taylor Swift trivia every week.
There we go. All right, next question. What was the name of the flag that had a single white star on a blue background used by the South at the beginning of the Civil War? Steven.
Betsy Ross?
Nope. Zane.
The Bonnie Blue.
Nice.
I've never even heard of this flag.
I was going to say Towley.
Final question of the day. What's the name of the U.S. flag that features 13 stars and a large 76 in the canton? Zane.
Now is the time for the Betsy Ross flag.
Wrong. Alden.
Oh, no? Lucky 13.
Wrong. Steven.
I didn't raise my hand yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Nick, my bad.
Let's go with the Centennial flag.
Nope. Steven, you got an answer?
The Continental flag.
Nope. All right, Nick.
Trick
Oh!
question. 56 flag.
Audience gets it. The Bennington flag.
Audience did good today, man. Dang.
Audience did great today. Final score. Thank you everybody for playing. The final score was Zane 11, audience 7, Nick 4, Alden 3, Steven. Big fat goose egg, brother.
Yeah. I'm reading the wrong books. Switch up the reading.
Well, thank you all for playing. Great times. Love it. Love that we get. I enjoy the trivia section of this podcast a lot. We get a lot of. I get to end up, doing a bunch of research that I normally wouldn't do for a whole bunch of different things, and so I get to learn stuff. I think everybody else learns stuff, and I don't know. It's fun. I enjoy it. What do y'all think? Should we keep on doing trivia over?
I love it.
Yes.
If you remember, trivia night is the reason why I became a regular cast member of the show.
That
is true. Yeah.
Yeah, Joel, I understand why you think you should get a 20-point handicap. The difference is that you are allowed to look things up online. So technically speaking, you should always have the right answer at some
delay
point.
And
there
Google kind of
there is a
cancel out.
delay.
Yeah, no, there's a
you
delay.
do have to type, but you do get Google as well. So yeah, that is a slight advantage. The audience has won once, so it's not.
I was in the audience.
Shut your mouth, Zane. No one likes somebody with an ego. Joel, we would never look on Google.
Yeah, Jake, don't encourage the audience to look the answers up.
I respect.
Where's the integrity in that?
No integrity.
There's no integrity,
At least I'm not looking
That's
it up.
the problem with trivia these
usually
days.
wrong.
There's no integrity.
There's no integrity.
No integrity. All right, we're gonna launch into our next topic, and I'm still getting this annoying message. We're gonna watch 2 videos in a row. Well, we'll watch this one, then we'll talk about it, then we'll go on to the Maui stuff. So here we go.
Colombia, Canada are no strangers to fighting wildfires on their own, but this time they've been met with RCMP blockading the roads.
So I'm going to be arrested if I go across that bridge. Why are we wasting these resources right now on this?
That's just the way it is. Like, you don't understand. Like, yeah, save your house, but when that bush is behind and I can run out there with a shovel and buckets of water and put out 30 spot fires in a day, when I save that old lady's house, I can save 10 people's house.
Not only have they restricted their travel, but in some areas they've shut off the water.
Somebody on Facebook or Instagram can tell me why there's no water in the water hydrant. Well, it's because of power. Possible, but I'm very, very suspicious.
And we're led to believe that authorities have our best interest at heart.
Where was this? Was this Maui?
This was Canada.
Canada.
Oh, okay.
You couldn't tell by the accent.
Oh, yeah.
And the beady eyes
Maui
and floppy heads.
And the Tim Hortons in the background.
I missed
So, yeah,
most of the.
I mean, we've been affected by some pretty terrible wildfires up in Montana just from the smoke from Canada. I mean, we've had some wildfires here since I've been here, but the wildfires in Canada have been pretty intense all summer, and many of them started at basically within 30 minutes of each other. There's one video showing how quickly
I've seen that. Yeah, it's
so many of them started on the same day.
crazy how they all just start at the same time.
It's like an entire province just erupted in flame.
Yeah,
at the same moment. It's like there were people who might have a who tell you that all the wildfires are from, I don't know, something like I don't want to say climate shifting. I don't know. I don't know.
Joel said the RCMP is the very definition of dirty state puppets. I literally know nothing about RCMP, but if they're like the state troopers here in the U.S., then yeah, they suck.
They're the Mounties.
They ride mooses.
They'll pull you over, and if you write "Canada sucks" on the side of your 18-wheeler, they'll pull you over and make you write it in French as well.
That's pretty good.
The Mounties have maybe one of the best propaganda arms of any police agency in the world. Because everybody, if you just ask somebody on the street, describe a Mountie, assuming they know what one is, they're like, oh, they're so polite. They have the funny hat and the red uniform.
And they ride a moose. And they want to tell you about processes, and
they're the Canadian version of the FBI. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're the National Police Force. The
Yeah, I
Royal
mean,
Canadian
mounted police. Yeah, what's with the mounted? Who cares? Like, I guess they used to be on horses or something back when they were first started. Like, what the crap? Mooses. Okay, the mooses would make more sense. Literally red coats. I love that. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Elizabeth. Love it. So yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on in Canada, and here's one from Maui. This is a reporter, a journalist, trying to report on what's going on down there. So here we go.
Here. Hey, what's up, Nick? I've been trying to reach you. Been reaching out to you on X.
This guy's live on air.
Supposed to be meeting with people here. What victims have you had?
Okay, yeah. So this is. So you're seeing this live right now. People actually tracked me down.
I thought you were staying in a tent. You said you were coming and staying in a tent, Nick. You're taking up resources.
I'm not taking up any resources here. People's minds here.
So this has been happening to multiple journalists. They'll be trying to record something, this guy was live on the air, and a random person will come up and start questioning them why they're there, saying that they've been trying to contact them, saying that they've been that they said they weren't going to use any resources on the island and they were just going to stay in a tent, like basically saying all these things that it's clear the guy didn't actually say. And it's just a really weird, creepy, odd thing to happen over and over again.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
This has happened.
It's not just this guy. There are many others that have interrupted, like, an Instagram live or just them recording something, and then they'll go, write an article
eerie.
about it. It's
oftentimes it's the sheriff's office.
What's that?
Oftentimes it's the sheriff's office. And of course, they're nice, they're cordial, because a lot of people are like, "Hey, thank you for your service, man. This is a crappy situation here. Let me know what I can do to help." And they're like, "Okay, well, first thing you can do is shut off the camera." What?
What? Yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre that it keeps happening over and over again. And like that guy who approached him was just wearing like a black t-shirt.
He's a Fed.
Like what the heck is going on here? It's really strange, and you could tell that guy was the reporter was super uncomfortable. They're not letting reporters in anymore. It's now like most people have drones through companies that are in compliance with the FAA, and so their drones won't take off in certain areas. And now they've made the entire part
a no-fly zone,
a no-fly zone for drones.
Yeah.
So unless you have your own homemade drone with no GPS on it, you can't get in there with a drone. And they put up fences, and they put up fences at the very beginning, and now they put up black like coverings
silt liner
over the
stuff
fences
over
so
it,
that you can't see through it anymore.
Yeah,
so
nothing suspicious.
So they're hiding
about that.
So they're, to get very morbid, they're hiding a ton of bodies, aren't they?
They could be. I don't know
how many people
they're hiding.
They were last I heard there were still over 1,000 missing people, and everyone said that the schools were out on that day because there was no power at the school, and so that's just the speculation is just kids burning up like crazy because no warning, parents at work, kids home from school.
Yep.
Like
let's watch this.
There's something going on there.
Yep. There we go.
I feel compelled to shed light on some important facts about the Maui wildfires. Let's set personal opinions aside and focus on the facts. First off, there were no emergency sirens activated to warn residents, despite the presence of these sirens on the island. It's baffling, isn't it? Another thing to note is that school was canceled on that day, meaning that all the kids were at home. Imagine the panic and confusion that must have ensued. But here's where it gets even more alarming. When residents tried to fight the flames approaching their homes using hoses, they were greeted with a shocking revelation. The water had been shut off. Can you imagine the desperation and frustration they must have felt? Both residents and firefighters were left without this crucial resource. And as if that wasn't enough, the situation at Front Street in Lahaina added an extra layer of disbelief. Residents attempting to evacuate were met with a police barricade, preventing them from moving even as the flames closed in. It's mind-boggling to think that orders were given to keep those cars stationary despite the imminent danger. Now, brace yourselves for some strange anomalies. The temperature of the flames was intense enough to burn tires and aluminum on vehicles. Weirder still, some blue umbrellas were left unscathed, while trees stood strong amidst the devastation. But perhaps the most puzzling aspect is the selective preservation of blue-colored objects near destroyed areas. It defies logic and raises even more questions about what actually happened. More reports coming. Stay tuned.
All right, so for those just listening, when he started talking about the color blue, they had a laser and they were shining it on different color material, and the blue one was the only one that didn't burn.
If you have a blue laser, it'll reflect back blue spectrum light.
Is the shortest wavelength of visible light. So that's why, when you talk about measuring distance with lasers, green lasers are okay, red ones are better. Or excuse me, red ones are okay, green ones are better. And then if you manage to get a blue laser, even better. That's how you have, just look at your DVD technology. When we moved up to Blu-ray, you could pack more data onto the same disc because blue light, shorter wavelength, you can pack more data into it. So it's a wavelength thing.
It's like more cycles per second kind of equivalent almost.
Interesting.
So I'm going to do a bit of a variation on my typical routine of being skeptical of conspiracy theories, which is to say to anybody who understandably thinks that the space laser theory is not correct, I'm speaking directly to you because I'm pretty sure that the space lasers probably aren't real either. However, that doesn't mean that automatically everything about this is on the up and up. There can still be plenty of really weird things that all the officials did and really weird things about the situations. And just because it's probably not space lasers doesn't give us a pass for saying that all the bureaucrats just did everything right. I think a lot of times people will point at the craziest theories that somebody brings up and be like, see, don't you think this is crazy? Therefore, there's absolutely nothing here worth looking into whatsoever. And that's not the correct way to think about it.
There we go. Right. And we certainly have enough evidence here, for Occam's razor, the simplest answer being the most possible
arson.
One.
Right, arson.
Is, human negligence. Arson started it. But now we have the barricades, the water not working. You have this crazy Obama appointee talking about how they worship the water, and we can't just willy-nilly go using it. We have to respect it. The Mother Earth Gaia spirit kind of crap.
And wasn't he on the ground before the fire started?
Yes.
Yeah.
Turning the valve off apparently. And then there's other local reports talking about there's fresh axe marks on the power poles. That they were structurally compromised prior to the fire, so the power was left on. So that's hey, we just had a hurricane go through California and Florida. When they know it's going to hit after it's a certain category, they cut the power off by default. If you're in the middle of a nasty storm, they'll throw the switch because if the power's on and one of these poles goes down, kaboom, it catches stuff on fire.
Yep.
And apparently they didn't shut the power off. I mean, you see in the video, the guy's house is on fire, his light bulb's still on, and he can't use his hose.
Yeah. And like that, one of the excuses they used for the barricades, the police barricades, was that the power lines were on the street and they were still live, and they were saying you cannot drive over them, which is absolutely not true. You just shouldn't drive over them quickly. You can drive over them because you're on 4 rubber tires. You're on 4 rubber tires. You can drive over a downed power line.
A car is
you didn't
grounded,
go fast because then it'll whip it up and it'll get into the metal. But as long as you drive slowly, it'll be fine.
How did the police barricade get there? Did they come from what side? You know what I mean? How'd they get out? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, here's another video. Let's add this. Here we go.
What kind of wildfire melts aluminum from the cars, melts the cars into the ground, but doesn't melt the asphalt? Let's get out our pen and paper and do some quick math. Aluminum melts at 1,220 degrees Fahrenheit, and asphalt's melting point is about 343 degrees Fahrenheit. So how in the world is it possible to have aluminum melted from the cars, but the asphalt isn't melted? Well, I'm going to show you how this is possible right now.
The world's first airborne directed energy weapon. The airborne laser, also known as the ABL. Just mounting the ABL requires one of the most sophisticated and elaborate modifications in history. The entire nose section is removed and retrofitted, and the world's largest titanium plate is installed to hold the enormous turret-mounted laser in place. The ABL system is designed to find, track, and destroy an enemy target in the air and on the ground. It can loiter at 40,000 feet for 5 hours, refuel in midair, and destroy a target 60 miles away in less than a second.
This is why everything in blue was still intact, just like these umbrellas. Lasers can actually be programmed for different wavelengths. Notice how it doesn't burn the blue, but it burns everything else. In this episode of The Simpsons, they erect a new statue. When the sun hits it, it causes a laser beam. The same statue that was mysteriously placed in Hawaii. And now let's look at the aftermath. Everything is disintegrated except for this blue umbrella. It's time to wake up, people. Peace and so what kind of...
I mean, once again,
so true story.
Simpsons predicting the future. Yeah,
that's crazy how many times that's happened.
True story. My dad's did some of the optics on that plane, so like I'm a little bit familiar with it, and I mean it's kind of a project that never went anywhere.
Interesting.
Well, but we have an Air Force base in Maui where this tech is on drones. So, it never went anywhere at the time. Doesn't mean we gave up on it because there's, I mean, we have, directed energy weapon, drone-based energy weapons being researched at an Air Force base in Maui. It's
a lot of things
we have for that stuff
that didn't go anywhere, like on an official level, that still kind of exist, in theory, like in somewhere, like, but just not mass used,
I mean, I remember being a junior in high school in 2002, reading Time magazine talking about, these lasers we have on our aircraft carriers now, that can maim, blind, or kill enemy combatants 1,000 miles away, that kind of thing. Of course, at the time, you had to have like an entire Connex, an 18-wheeler, the big metal containers that go in the back of the 18-wheelers. You had to have like one of those full of whatever to make that laser possible. Now, I mean, here we are.
Now you can do it
later.
from
I'm
like
sure it's
an
condensed a little
Xbox
bit.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm to the point where I actually think it's probably good if people, at least some people, believe in the space lasers, because whatever can make somebody realize that the government has lots of evil people in it and it's not out to serve the common good. I don't want to essentially do the work of a Fed by saying, oh, there's no way that they would ever use space lasers.
I really appreciate it.
I'm sure that there are people that would. I'm sure there are people in the government that would do that if they could. I'm just often skeptical that they can without it really being found out by more than just people on Instagram. I guess my other concern is that when we go straight to talking about the space lasers, we kind of forego the easier sell of it's really screwed up how this water bureaucrat turned all the water off, because we all have such faith in the wisdom of the central planners to know how, like, to know the best way of dealing with wildfires. And
we know the best way to keep them going.
And we have a bunch of dolts in law enforcement that will follow whatever order the bureaucrats give them when the bureaucrats don't know what they're doing either. I just feel like, I mean, this show in particular is probably a good place to air out the conspiracy theories because, as we all know, we have no viewers. I'm just saying, as a general rule, I don't lead with...
Our no viewers just beat me in trivia. So
look, I'm not connecting the dots. I'm just saying there's information that allows you to go down different rabbit holes, because you have the chief of police down there in Lahaina, whatever it is, was the captain of Las Vegas Police Department during the whole casino thing.
What was the casino thing?
The guy that carried 400 pounds of guns and ammo by himself to the 32nd floor unnoticed.
Yeah.
Kicked out an
And then there was,
window
and then he had two rooms, and the second room was both that was connected to the room that he was found in had both doors, both the connecting door and the hallway door locked from the inside. But
yeah, that was part of their investigation.
Fuck up. And then he proceeded to kick out a 2-foot thick window by himself. Without alarming anyone else inside the building, while Jason Aldean was having a concert, and then he proceeded to try that in a small town.
We honestly need to do a whole show just on the Vegas thing. There was so much weirdness on that.
Once I'm back in Atlanta, we're gonna have a little bit more structure to this show, and we're gonna do some interesting things. I think one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna have a segment besides trivia, and it's gonna be predictions. And it's going to be great. when some breaking news comes out, everybody makes their prediction as to what the result of that will be, and then later on, whenever the results come out, then we'll revisit it and we'll see.
To be fair, we had another segment, but like that hasn't happened in a while because, as far as I know, there's been no Fayette County car shows lately.
But hey, Georgia State University is going to have a law class on Rick Ross.
I love it.
I don't know if it's the rapper or Free Red Ricky, but
can somebody please take that class?
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Can we take that class as a show? Can we take that class?
just walk in and audit it. No one's gonna know.
Right?
Yeah. What's up, Zane?
Jake, that is a really good idea because it's really easy for us to sit here and gab with no accountability of whether or not we're actually ever right.
True.
And speaking of being right, Nick still owes me 2 beers because Joe Biden is still president.
Or
this is a bet that me and Nick made a bet, I think back in November or December, that
it was before then, but yeah, we double or nothing whenever I lost the first time around.
Yeah, but Nick contended that somebody other than Joe Biden would be the president by May.
Well, judging by the number of vacation days he's taken, somebody else is president.
I mean, you could argue Jake Sullivan's president more than Joe Biden.
He's been on vacation literally more than half the time.
Yeah, mentally and physically.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
He's in his happy place.
These are some images that Alden sent me about cars burning up nearby trees that were untouched during wildfires. Alden, did you have things to say about this? Yeah, this was in 2018, by the way.
Yeah, these have been going on for a while, and that's why the Maui thing. I haven't even looked into the Maui thing that much yet, and there was more that I was finding in California and in Canada years ago even. And there's like completely just. It's also so that guy in that short, he had looked up the melting point of aluminum, and a lot of the times the wheels, they're called alloy wheels for a reason. They're aluminum alloy, and often the melting point is even higher than aluminum if it's like an aluminum nickel alloy or something like that. So
there we go.
It's even
If
higher.
we're going to take the Placie angle on that, it's Chinese slag
to a certain extent,
and it's not actually aluminum.
That is interesting, and that's a whole other thing as far as like China sending their industrial
what if we're
waste
flooded with an inferior
like
metal that, your average bonfire, your average backyard campfire melts your wheels on your car now.
All right. I think it was Steven that sent me this one. Air Force Maui optical and supercomputing site. What's the deal with this one?
So this kind of tech, if there is some kind of drone-based, air-based, not space-based, because to get a laser to shine down out of orbit, I mean, the chain of command involved in that is outrageous. But you could have a swarm of drones fly over a town in a matter of minutes that would have this tech attached to them. If it's possible, I don't know, but if it exists, it comes from this base. Because we have apparently 2 big bases where we research this kind of tech. One of them's in New Mexico, and then the other one's in Maui, and the biggest one being in Maui.
Look at that thing. Holy crap. That's huge.
That's almost like COVID coming out of what was the name of the specific lab in Wuhan
lab.
But then the full name of the lab that like had the name of the disease in it, the novel coronavirus lab or whatever. It's like, how would that be correlated?
Oh yeah,
it is
the lab that George Soros owns.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, all I know, like, unless you're there, I appreciate. There's a guy on Tim Pool the other day. I think it was the one before or after Spike Cohen. I can't remember. I think it was the day after Spike Cohen was on. and he has been on the ground in Maui since it happened. He's an independent journalist, and man, he said he was able to sneak in, get some drone footage, get some like footage of people's houses, and like he said the number of weird things that are happening on that island is definitely cause for suspicion. Like residents haven't been able to go back to their houses at all. A lot of them have like safes that they're trying to, go get their valuables out of, their like their money that they've saved or like personal valuables and stuff like that. So like the mere fact that they're not allowing the people who own the land to go back and look at their burned houses after the fire is already out, the danger is past, the houses are ashes. Like that is some suspect crap right there.
And it's the same thing that happened in Canada years ago. And that's like the case that I sent you some stuff on.
Or even in New Orleans in the wake of Katrina. You had the Cajun Navy was just trying to bring some hamburgers to some folks. And the Red Cross was like, is that FDA approved meat? Like, get out of here, son. You're in the swamp.
Is that a Beyond Burger? Get out of here.
Everybody's starving. I got burgers. Shut up.
Alden, which, what'd you send me?
I thought I sent you some images.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, there were just so many I didn't download them.
There was a few, yeah.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try to get them. Y'all keep chatting about that.
That was one of them that I saw too. Was from the locals. Like the house totally incinerated. You got trees, 10, 20 feet each side of the house, totally preserved, green leaves on them.
Yeah.
And then nothing in the house is recognizable except the blue T-shirts that were in the shirt drawer.
Yeah, and then often the rubble is like a white color, and it doesn't have the same characteristic like black char that you would normally see, and that's kind of odd enough as it is. And then sometimes there's a car outside the house, and the car will be like right next to a tree, and the car will melt and the tree is fine. It's weird.
It's freaking weird, man.
I've been seeing it for years now.
Yeah, it is really weird about not letting people go back to their houses, and even if that is just standard policy, again, you have to think about if that is standard policy and there's no conspiracy, how completely unfeeling is the standard policy that some bureaucrat decided, well, this is a government area, you can't come in here because we're still doing something.
We need to protect you from yourself. Yeah.
Some bureaucrat came up with it with no regard for the needs of actual people to go into that zone and see their house and get their belongings.
No, I totally agree, Zane.
Grumpy's got the best idea, by the way.
I agree.
Paint your roof blue, y'all.
Get one of those blue metal like hurricane roofs.
Our neighbor has a blue roof. I bet he'd survive.
Go there in the case of
just make sure you paint it red a month before Easter, and then just paint it back, and you'll be good to go.
All right, Alden, what do we got here?
So this is a case years ago. This is 2021. This is the very beginning, not the beginning of COVID, but the beginning of like vaccine rollout or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a little town in British Columbia called, what the hell was it? Lytton or something? I don't know. It's in here somewhere. I think it's Lytton, BC here.
Okay.
So the things that are coming up now that are reminding me of this event that I dug these out of one of my, many folders and cyber folders here, but
there it is.
They didn't let anyone back to their houses after the fire. So that's another thing that was the same. The same characteristic problems of, trees not burning, houses burning, blah, 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 blue stuff left, same kind of thing. So the top is Lytton, the bottom's California. It's the same kind of thing. The trees remain in between houses that are just completely decimated. So we're seeing the same kinds of things, whether it's policy or, in effect in terms of what is happening chemically or molecularly or whatever on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some other weirdness about this. So this guy, Dr. Hoff, was doing stuff. He was studying the effects on his vaccinated patients. He had, I think it was like 900 doses administered. And he stopped because he started getting a lot of people that were reporting, symptoms that were, unfavorable. And he even had one person die about 3 weeks after. And he wrote this open letter, talking about this and trying to kind of see, is anyone else experiencing this and blah, blah, blah. And he was met with, a lot of criticism and pushback, of course. But he kept working and he kept researching with his patients. And he found that 62% came back positive with like the D-dimer thing, like the blood clot test thing or whatever, of the vaccinated population there. And this was kind of early in the days of this being like kind of like well known that it was going to push against the mainstream narrative. But his clinic was in Lytton, and the whole city burned down, but not the trees, just the buildings burned down. And so it was just another detail of like targeting a certain area. And then the first image that you pulled up was about HARP. So Stephen knows about HARP.
Oh, yes, sir.
We've talked about HARP quite a bit. So this is HARP gets in the same week, gets a $9 million grant to do. So the Army apparently officially said like, oh, we don't use the facility anymore, but they let other like, apparently the National Science Foundation now uses it or whatever.
After also denying its existence for about 25
years.
Yeah.
Oh, but now it's real, but now we don't use it. Yeah, exactly. And I highlighted the 33 acre just as a little masonry, little trivia bit there. But same week over here. So here's the June 21st to June 25th of the same year. HARP basically goes, okay, this is a no-fly zone over the facility because the electromagnetic radiation will interfere so much that you won't be able to operate a plane above us. It's the same week that there's a record heat wave in Lytton, and there's reports on June 30th about the heat wave that starts by about June 25th. 130 people died suddenly there from the heat wave there. And then there's the wildfire at the end of the heat wave. And then the images after this of the pyroclast like plumes or whatever with the lightning in them. So here's the weird pattern of the lightning. Now, I grew up in Florida. I'm no expert, but I've never seen lightning in lines like that. It's really strange.
It's like a box.
It is. There's several images of this same kind of thing. One even looks like a Q, which is hilarious if we want to get into like some stupid QAnon shit, but that's a joke. But it is so strange. They're like actual right angles of lightning. And then here's like a tweet or something from like a meteorologist that's like at least acknowledging that like this is not normal, right? And like he lines and it really is, yeah. Easy. And then he dates it and everything. And so this is in the smoke plumes from the fire. So there's all kinds of weird stuff going on. Anyway, just kind of I wanted to just present quickly a lot of weirdness around the same thing that reminded me, the Maui stuff reminded me of this, but.
So specifically about the evidence that a lot of cars and houses are burning down, but not the trees. Yeah.
Sure.
And just to make a general point about being at least a little bit skeptical when evidence is presented based off of scientific principles not being as you would expect. Like it's very intuitive that if the car is burning down, then the tree should also burn down.
Right.
But I just did a little bit of looking into it and found that there are actually a lot of species of trees that are very fire resistant, either because they have really thick bark or because their tissue is very moist or because they have really high crowns. And so this is just a general point.
This is reproductive cycle. Like
yeah, that's very true.
I understand.
Well. So this is just a general point that science is infinitely fascinating, and there are a lot of reasons why things don't behave exactly as you would expect them to.
That is fair.
So again, not to say that every conspiracy theory is wrong.
No, it's okay.
But we've got to be careful.
Well, and look at all the trees on the south side of 285 around DeKalb County, where we have a car fire at least twice a day. They're totally unaffected every time.
No, it's okay. It's one of many points that I thought were weird and interesting. And there are channels called Amazing Polly, and they did like a whole like hour-long rundown on this particular event, and they get into other weirder stuff. Even the bonus round of this is like it involves, some people spotted a train that was on fire in the area, and that's weird stuff. And then the kind of train that is, it's a CN train. CN was actually fined $16 million the year before for for starting a fire 10 miles south or 10 kilometers south. So like, I don't know, 8 miles south of
That was a
Lytton.
kilometer.
Yeah.
But to be fair, there's only 6 major railroads in North America, so
I thought you
one
would
of them
have something
started
to
a
say about
fire.
that, Nick.
Yeah, but
Is-
CN
you're
is
one
that's
in
the Warren
6.
Buffett one, right? I mean, that's the one that he's
No.
Bill
BNSF
Gates.
is Warren Buffett's.
Got it.
Bill Gates is, I was getting to that one, is actually the shareholder of CN. And then, you know, that's why I said this is the bonus round, because it's just like extraneous variable, you know, details or whatever. But there was a report in the news in the area at the time of some people reporting a train on fire or whatever, and just being, you know, just another weird detail. And it just so happens that Bill Gates is the largest private shareholder of that particular railroad. And of course, we all know that Bill Gates has invested heavily in people taking the vaccine. He actually invested $10 billion with a B of his own dollars into 3 different companies that I think the quote is like, I have it written down here somewhere. What does it say about this? Increase access to vaccines, which we all know what that means, right? But
yeah,
that he invested $10 billion of his own dollars into companies that basically push vaccines or whatever. So he's heavily invested in this as a concept. We all know.
And he did the centennial keynote speech at the International Eugenics Conference on YouTube. But if we play this clip, we'll get banned now.
Oh yeah, don't play
it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I bet it's interesting.
Anyway, that's like I said, the bonus round of just because it's I'm not trying to specifically pin that to this, but it has been brought up and it is just kind of weird surrounding details. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Well, and so you know, I see the angle you're taking as well. You're getting into military weather weapons, right? So we have several
and political targets.
Yes,
specifically why this little town? Like, yeah.
Well, so you bring up that one doctor, yeah. So we had there was, what was it, Dr. Bradstreet, I think his name was. He had a clinic in Florida, and then he had one in Atlanta, and he found out that there was a specific type of protein that in one of his stepchildren reversed autism. That he treated them with that, and then within 2 years, we had 13 or 14 holistic naturopathic doctors just in Georgia all of a sudden suicide themselves in mysterious ways.
What?
You know, some of them,
I don't know about this.
We're talking, you know, 5 feet tall ladies had a 12 gauge shotgun. What, did you pull the trigger with your toe?
Dr. what? Bradstein? Is that
Bradstreet.
Bradstreet. I'm going to look
Bradstreet. Yes. And at the time, my mother was going to see Dr. Carrie Made. And she was at the time in Henry County, Georgia, and she knew many of these doctors, and she was like, they are not suicidal. And she got a little flaky for a while because she thought she was being followed.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So, but aside from that, you get back to the military weather weapons. I mean, this goes all the way back to just right after World War II, 1947, I think. Operation Popeye. What was the guy's name? Bill Livingston. I mean,
which one was Popeye?
That was the one where we were doing cloud seeding, where we figured out we could steer hurricanes.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't create them, but we could magnify them and steer them.
Yeah.
And I was it silver iodide they were putting into it? I don't remember what. Dude was on 60 Minutes. I think his name was Bill Livingston.
Silver or aluminum?
Yeah.
It's always aluminum.
It was some sort of silver something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you know, it started with that, and we knew, you know, in Vietnam. We did cloud seeding, you know, whatever we learned from Operation Popeye, we did the cloud seeding to flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We extended their monsoon season for 2 weeks and disrupted their supply chain.
Someone in the Manitoba conference thing or whatever in that I'm remembering this from looking into the whole Lytton, BC fire thing or whatever. Someone was asked directly about like a question, and they kind of danced around it. And in their dance around the question, ended up thanking the some kind of officials for bringing the rain or some kind of a weird thing. And anyway, he ended up thanking those in charge or whatever he said for bringing the rain over there. It was just kind of a weird thing.
That's a weird thing.
That reminds me of that, but Yeah, you can cloud seed. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not like quote unquote hard.
Right, and that's not even what we would call military grade weather manipulation.
No, that would be more like heating.
What you're talking about, lightning patterns moving at right angles.
Yeah.
Like that's not, that's not odd. That's not a random assortment of nature.
Right.
Having something like 24 new clouds added to the cloud registry in our lifetime. Now what's special about our lifetime since the several hundred years we've been observing cloud formations? Oh, right. I don't know. The ability to throw megawatts into the ionosphere.
Yeah. Picking up where Tesla left off here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's something to it. And then, China even has entire government departments dedicated to weather manipulation.
Yeah.
They have websites where they show they fire at this machine, and within a couple of hours, there's a damn thunderstorm over the site.
Yeah. I mean, I literally wasn't even joking as far as like Tesla's hotel room was raided like hours after he died, and
by Donald Trump's uncle.
That's true. We talked about this. Yeah.
Little baby Donald Trump was probably there.
There you go. Well, so his uncle.
Baron Trump traveling through time.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a whole other theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the book. There's a book about it.
Interesting.
But anyway, it gets weird. Oh, and then the one last detail about the Lytton thing. The police were knocking on people's doors, like personally, like very, very early in the whole fires thing. And no one knew otherwise that there was a fire because the cell phone was knocked out like at the get for everything, the cell phone connection everywhere. They have 3 towers in the city and they were all down.
Interesting.
Just another weird detail.
Now, I gotta go back and look at this now. This just came to my mind. You ever watch those like what's happening now videos? Where they try to convince you like the apocalypse is happening. Like, look at these dead whales in Brazil. Now look at these birds falling out of the sky in Japan.
Yeah.
But there was one of them was like a weird knocking sound. And there was like an entire province in Canada in the late 90s that was like, they heard this.
Oh, underground.
This right? What it sounded like anyways. Yeah, I don't know.
There's places all around the world that have reported like at 3 a.m. like they hear like weird whirring and ticking and humming and knocking sounds like deep underground, and they're basically told go back to sleep.
Dwarves.
Wait, you're saying you don't hear that every night?
That's right.
I just thought it was the people in the apartment below me.
I believe it's called Agartha, but I could be wrong on that.
So, I mean, we know during the 70s, the Soviets played around with that as well. They had the same kind of tech that they could bounce signals through the ionosphere.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call it? The woodpecker signal. They were trying to drive people crazy in northeastern U.S. and Canada.
Is that like the Havana radio?
Havana syndrome thing?
Havana syndrome.
Yeah, it's kind of tied to it, but they could just put a signal in the air that, like, if you just had a radio in the house, it didn't have to be on. Although it would start making this little ticking noise.
I've been skeptical of the whole Havana syndrome thing.
Yeah, it also there's no way it would have taken much to make Canadians lose their minds because they're already like half lost anyway. So it wouldn't have been a hard thing to do.
Well, if I lived in a place where the beer sucks, I don't know what I would do either.
Man, okay. All right, that's all I've got on wildfires tonight, y'all. Do y'all have anything else we should talk about regarding wildfires? Because I've got like 20 more tabs that are all single tab like one-offs for the rest of the night.
Let it rip.
I'm fine.
I know Greece just caught some commies trying to set some wildfires recently.
They've been having wildfire issues on a couple islands.
Yeah.
On Greece?
Is it a wildfire if someone sets it?
Well, it was going to be a wildfire,
right.
Put it that way.
There was a couple different islands. I believe Rhodes was one.
Weird. Yeah, I have no idea.
Burning like crazy. Yeah, I don't know. That was a couple weeks back, but wildfires.
All right. Well, here's a controversial libertarian thing we're going to be talking about here.
All right, let's get controversial.
Dave vs. Goliath posted this on X. Gosh, I hate saying X. I wish it was Twitter. Larry Sharp, who we love, or I love at least. I love Larry Sharp, great libertarian. This is him pitching his next quest for ballot access in New York.
To make the Libertarian Party a party in 2018. And with that victory, I would say, I wanted more, but I was happy I took it. We got a victory. Then in 2020, the stroke of a pen, they destroyed us all. Green Party gone, Libertarian Party gone, Independence Party gone, Reform Party gone, all gone. Larry, why didn't you sue? I did. 8 times, lost all 8 times. I tried. I dropped literally $100,000 trying to fix this thing, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. But we can do it now. We can actually get ballot access next year. Here's how it works next year. How New York State law works right now is we have to get a presidential candidate on the ballot, and then we have to get 2% of the vote in November. Oh my God, is that hard? Can it be done? Yes. It's going to cost us $500,000. $500,000 if we can do it. So I'm out here to let you know that, because I need $500,000 plus. I need you to tell the people about it. Plus, when the time comes next year, not now, but next April, I will need you to help me go out and get signatures. I'll need all those things from you. I'll need money from you. I'll need time from you, and I'll need your voice. I'll need all 3 of those. Whatever you have more of, give me more of that. We will have to get 45,000 valid signatures in 6 weeks. That means 60,000, which means 10,000 signatures per week. At 5 days a week, 2,000 per day. That is really hard to do, but we can do it. And something else, once we get the signatures, they will sue me again. So I need cash to pay lawyers. That's why I need cash. I need cash to pay lawyers so we can actually get there and then actually win the lawsuits. I know how now. Getting my butt kicked last year, boy, was that a lesson. But I learned, so I know what to do now. I know who to pick and how to make it happen so we can win that. If we get 2% of the people to actually vote after getting the ballot, we will have an independent party in this state for 2025 and 2026. If we bring press to the bottom of the ticket, we get a victory. We know this. We saw it happen in 2017. We can do it again in 2025. That happens, then I have a chance of running in 2026 for governor again.
Okay, it's a straight
if I run
shooter,
for
man.
governor again in 2026 and we already have ballot access, literally it becomes a winnable race. I'm not joking when I say that.
4th place.
He tells it how it is.
Yeah. So
what are our thoughts on this? Because I have a few.
I'm sympathetic to the needing, wanting 50 state ballot access. I think I'm more sympathetic to Dave's opinion on this, that spending $500,000 this year and then you fall short because it's going to be a contentious presidential year. And, it's probably going to be tough to actually pool votes because it's going to be, vote against Biden or vote against Trump from either side you're looking at.
Well, it's going to be the most important election of our lifetime.
Yes, it will. But actually, in some ways, it kind of actually might be, I think Dave Smith was making that point a couple weeks ago, like that. Yeah, actually, it does seem like these are more important every time because things are just more and more polarized. But,
just for the audience's sake, I know I delivered that really straight. That was supposed to be a joke, but no one laughed.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
But you're going to drop $500,000 now to get it there. If you miss, it's $500,000 next time. If you miss, it's and then if you get it, we've already seen federal courts, in Georgia, we've had this, it's the same issue as, in New York. The courts don't want to hear it. Oh, well, there's a, basically it comes down to, well, there's a process. It's not our problem that it's nearly impossible for you, barely funded people to get it. I mean, go get a couple $1 million and you can, get on any race you want. That's basically what it comes down to, right? And the courts are like, we don't care. The process is there. We don't, they're not going to argue that it's overly restrictive. They don't seem to be buying that argument. The Supreme Court won't take it, especially since, in Georgia, we've had the Martin Cowan's case, and the ruling on that came, the judges in the appeals basically said, yeah, it's fine. And so the Supreme Court denied it. If New York State gets the same ruling of, it's fine, there's not really any reason to support. There's no interest that the Supreme Court has in taking it because the different circuits are still sitting on the same side as each other. We're not setting the rules as far as what it takes to get on the ballot. So it's going to just, in some ways you have to, I feel like, my sympathetic to that, to, the Larry Sharp side is you got to fight it where it stands and you've got to prove that you can get it there. because otherwise everywhere else they're going to say, oh, we can limit the ballot just by, setting this exact limit as what New York has. You got to get 45,000 signatures in 6 weeks. That's, they can do it that way, or they can, but then, then it's a fool's errand, chasing that down everywhere it happens, right? It's a very complex, just kind of rigged system. And I get I am fairly sympathetic to what Dave's saying is, hey, you're going to spend $500,000 here. How many city council mayors, city councilors, county commissioners, whatever, are you going to be able to get in office with that kind of money?
Right.
Where you might actually be able to have a little bit more influence and, tell the state level where they won't let you in to go fuck themselves and whatever else. So,
yeah, I mean, the way I say it's a matter of managing your resources properly. And like, I love Larry Sharp. I've met him a few times. Great dude. He's, like Alden said, he's very straightforward. He has plans for things. Like, he knows what he's doing most of the time. But man, at some point, is getting in the governor's race that important in New York, and like getting ballot access that important in New York? Would it be better to use that money, like Nick was saying, in smaller races, smaller towns across the state of New York, and use
Could we
that?
make him a sheriff?
There we go.
Like when the New York Times posted that article of all the addresses and zip codes or whatever of the registered gun owners in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that concentration was of like a lot of those guys. Can we make him sheriff of that county?
Yeah.
And let's start there, right?
Yeah, I like that. But man, the idea of how many times has he tried to run for something in New York and fail? I mean, it's been every other year since 2018. So this would be like the 6th or 7th time.
Governor is every 4 years.
He's still got wind in his sails, and he's
done governor
his
twice.
body at the barbed wire. The man needs some help.
But honestly, I think it would behoove him to be more honest. I mean, 2018, he got everyone with well, if we do this and we do this and we do this, I could very well win governor. And it's like, man, just come out and say, yeah, there's no chance of me winning governor, but like, we've got a message and we're putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, at some point that has to be the case, especially if you're losing ballot access. Then clearly you cannot win.
Well, I think it in the end, because people hop in with a third party and they're like, they're not experienced in this, and they go, all right, something, things are different because XYZ. This person, Larry Sharp, Joe Jorgensen, insert person here is gonna win, and it's like, no, because they're out there. Yeah, I'm gonna win, and when you elect me, and it's just like, I think disheartening to a lot of people who might get on board because they realize, because they're hit so hard on that, and it's like, it was never gonna happen, and I think we do ourselves a disservice by pretending it will.
I think most people
the first, because otherwise most normal, but there are people who hop in and get excited and don't understand, like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like, even when we had Mike on the show, right? And I'm like, look, let's be honest, there's zero chance that any libertarians are winning, and he challenged me on that and said, well, no, I see a way that we could win. And I'm like, dude, be honest with people. Like, that's the first step to even getting there, is being straight up honest and saying, yeah, I've got zero chance of winning. That's the reality. That's the statistics. That's how this
I disagree.
Yeah,
I disagree. Sorry, Zane, but I 100% disagree. Don't even bring it up. Shane didn't bring it up once on his campaign that he would win or wouldn't win. All Shane did was talk the points and
run on a platform,
promote our platform. So don't acknowledge either one of them, because yes, it's likely we're not going to win, but telling people that gives
almost
them
guaranteed
no reason to give to you and to.
I tend to agree with that, but I'm interested too in what Zane was going to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Zane. Sorry.
So I mean, the reason you run in these big races is to spread the message, because regardless of whether you say it or not, that you're not going to win. So the reason is because people take your message more seriously when you're running in a political race. That's why we run the big races. And I'm wondering, do people take your message more seriously if they get to the ballot box maybe a couple months after they meet you and either see your name there or not. Like if you say you're running for governor and you tell somebody about the Libertarian platform, how much does it matter that your name is like? It definitely matters some, but I'm wondering how
much.
Is it worth $500,000 for your name to be on the ballot if you've already been spreading the message to the extent that you can by being a candidate in the first place? And Jake, I would agree that you probably should not go out of your way saying that you won't win. But I have seen my fair share of libertarian candidates being like, when I'm president, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And it just comes off like a punchline every time because we all know you're not going to be president ever. So why even say it? Because
I like keeping the talking
and
points.
that's why I so confidently cast my vote for Shane, was because he never gave into that dichotomy, but at the same time, he also defined victory, and it didn't involve him being governor. You know, he was like, listen, this is how we beat this. You know, we beat this by this, and like it was a roadmap of this is the tyranny, this is why it exists, this is how it exists, and we dismantle it on this level. And that was most of his platform, from what I could gather. I mean, going back to his his Facebook Live videos before he was even a candidate.
And if you promote
lockdown days and stuff, it was like hey, this is how we take this stuff out, and none of that had to do with him being our commander in chief.
You can promote the ideas, and you can technically influence culture, and you could influence even the larger two parties to shift toward a better direction potentially. I'm not saying that that's likely, but I'm saying you can shift the mind of the voters by getting those talking points out there, and you can kind of avoid the self-fulfilling prophecy kind of a problem of being like, well, we're not going to win, and then like plant that seed in people's mind that you're not going to win. And I think it's better to talk about the points than it is you as a person winning, and talk about the points that you would like to see in place. And I think that's at least a healthy way to go about it and getting it in people's minds, like culturally.
Right.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I mean, sorry. There are obviously arguments to both sides of whether or not Larry Sharpe should try to go on this epic quest to get ballot access in New York.
That's a specific question. I don't know, but
man, that is such a long road in New York, dude. Like, I mean, if you heard him, every single bit of that was extremely difficult to do. That'd be hard to do for a party 10 times as big as the Libertarian Party. Like, that's a difficult road to take, and
I commend him for
a
doing
lot
that,
of resources taken from the Libertarian Party for that purpose, where they could be directed to smaller campaigns that could have
what Nick's
effect
saying,
over
like,
more people. Yeah.
The opportunity cost of it.
I definitely think there's a whole lot of skipping, trying to win big without going the way that you kind of have to. I mean, who the hell are we? People recognize Democrats, Republicans. Yeah, they suck for this or that, but they're what's there, right? And that's what we know. And like, you kind of got to build it from the bottom up and say,
the
hey,
grassroots victory. Like,
I mean, when there's a libertarian on,
it takes to get that microphone, and that's what I'm saying. Like, without the office you're running for being the main frame, you can just say, hey, listen, these are the problems right now that I get to talk to you about. This is how we dismantle them.
And maybe
like, and you just got to know that most of the time, at least at this level where we are right now, that kind of victory is not going to come with you in office.
Maybe running for the bigger office.
You made some waves. You inspired some folks. There's a ground game forming now, and a lot of these folks maybe don't even vote because what does it even matter? I mean, honestly, look at the past few elections that we've had, on a national level. Absolute circuses. It's
maybe running at that level helps the smaller ones win even too, and like maybe the money spent quote unquote losing the bigger office and election can help get the name and the concepts out there for people to run in smaller places, like local things and sheriff and things like that, and put that in people's minds. So maybe the money spent there will trickle down sort of and help the smaller areas even. I don't know. I'm not saying that's for sure. It might not
be immediate either. It's one of those things where it's just, you've got to plant the seed and throw some water on it every now and then. And just, hope it sprouts, and it might sprout next to a melted car.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
That's good.
Good callback.
That's good.
What else we got, Jake?
All right, let's go move on to economics. We're not going to watch this whole video. It's a 4-minute Peter St. Onge video, but
what's Kevin Spacey up to today?
Friend of the show, Peter St. Onge. We should invite him on sometime.
He's a massive podcast, though. Like the odds of
we
getting
should
him on
we should invite him on. We should get
I'd be totally down for that.
Of Colorado on too, since
this is an analogy.
He's libertarian.
For what we were talking about before, you just said he has a massive podcast. What are the odds of bringing him on? And I'm saying to support my point before that we should try to get him on. This is our little victory we need.
I'll start sending a message through the Libertarian Party. Let's do it. All right, here we go.
Got two fresh job reports out this week, both saying the American labor market is dropping like a rock.
The audio's off on this.
Jolts are dropping, and why are they dropping? Because Jolts disappointed. Expecting a number around 9.5 million, 8,827,000. That is the smallest Jolts job openings since March of 2021.
It was so bad, in fact, that Bloomberg headlined their article, quote, "Good news for the Fed as job market cools." Not a joke. First up, job openings. They dropped by a massive 750,000 on the month, which was a comical 7-fold miss to Wall Street expectations. That's the third biggest miss on record. And it brings the 3-month drop in job openings to 1.5 million lost. That is the worst on record outside the COVID lockdowns. As always, they revised the previous month's numbers down. By the way, they've revised literally every report this year, which is fun because it sneaks some extra juice when nobody in the media is looking. And they can always revise since 70% of their data is estimated. So they're not actually counting. They are using statistical pixie dust.
Statistical pixie dust.
I mean, just more great economic news, great things happening in the economy. First impressions.
I like the statistical pixie dust.
Yeah.
I'm also curious about the financial mushrooms that Janet Yellen's on. So one of the things about the job openings, that whole thing, when they like to do all this chest beating about like, oh, we added 250,000 jobs, we added 280,000 jobs, 310,000 jobs. Oh yeah. I remember Neil Bortz would harp on this. I'm blessed enough to be from the Atlanta area. So I grew up with Neil Bortz, the talkmaster, on syndicated radio in my area. And one of the things that he would always harp on, and of course he retired, right after Obama got elected, 2012-ish, so 10 plus years ago. But back in those times, early 2000s, he was talking about, at that time, the population was like 300 million. We had to add 400,000 jobs a month to keep up with population growth, to keep up with, either people coming of age, immigrants, all that kind of stuff. And he was like, so anything less than 400K is a net loss. Essentially, people have dropped out of the labor market. And this is one of those things that he would highlight, that, the stats started getting massaged really heavily during the Clinton years. That's how you have the difference between the U3 and the U6 unemployment statistics, because you have the people that, just recently lost a job, just signed up for unemployment for the first time ever. You have the people that, have been looking for 6 months to a year. And then you have the people that are underemployed. So you used to have a full-time job. Now you have 2 part-time jobs, but that's counted as jobs. So this is all kind of skewed data, so that's one of those things, is like the non-farm payroll employment rate, all that kind of stuff that they put out on these monthly basis. It's these numbers are so heavily massaged to build this narrative around whoever's in power at the time. Now, sometimes they get so crappy you just can't put enough lipstick on that pig. But for the most part, you can look at data at a certain angle, anytime, and tell the story you want to tell.
And Peter was saying massaging the numbers behind the current numbers because it gets less media attention to make the, precipitous rise or drop, after to the current estimated number feel either more or less, however we're trying to promote. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to collect job information from a country of 350 million people, it is hard. It would be hard to collect 1/1000th of that amount of data.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to collect all that data, it would be reasonable to assume that you would have to make adjustments to it. The problem is that there are a wide variety of adjustments that it's possible to make, and you can essentially pick the one you want and then be like, oh, well, we just made these reasonable adjustments to our data, and everybody will believe you, but you had 15 different reasonable adjustments you could have made, and they always pick the one that looks the best for them.
Yeah.
Right. And the idea of the government having literally anything to do with creating jobs is hilarious. I mean, they
can only destroy.
They can only destroy, man. All they do is take away jobs. They just prevent companies from creating jobs.
It's
That's
like
the whole thing
unless
there.
it's the folks they hire to cut their own personal grass,
we
they
go.
don't create any jobs.
There we go.
It's the converse to matter cannot be created or destroyed.
Here's the question: in these statistics, are government jobs included in the statistic?
Yes, I'm pretty sure they are.
'Cause for some reason they think that that's actual economic output when it's really just parasites.
Right.
I would love to see the data on how many contact tracers got hired in the month of August.
That's a good question, honestly, about the government.
That's being rebooted. We know that infrastructure got billions. It got put in place and subsequently dismantled pretty quickly, and now it's just being rebooted.
But yeah, the whole on the last week's High Wire with Del Bigtree, they did a whole segment breaking down like, yeah, so middle of September, this is happening and that's happening and this is happening and this and this and this and this, and it all kind of aligns with what Alex Jones said about being told, oh yeah, we're bringing back mask mandates for airport employees and stuff starting in September, and then by the end of the year, masks to get on planes again and everything else. So
they're coming back in Germany for sure. There was a Weimar judge just got some years in prison for trying to lift the mask mandates before the rest of the country.
Oh boy,
that's
fun.
Oh, boy.
Germany's a hellhole again. Who'd have thunk it?
All right.
I was proud of Volkswagen for doing the emissions manipulations on their diesels.
On the diesels.
I know.
I was proud of them.
Well,
I was like,
that was like when Uber when they were tracking where phones were and then blocking out anyone who had government issued credit cards or phones or their phones spent majority of the day in the government buildings in order for them to not get picked up. So
Hannah's making assumptions about each of us right now. Jake and Nick use digital calendars. Steven uses a big family calendar that's up in the kitchen. Zane is a physical planner book, and Alden has no calendar.
If I'm using a calendar, it's digital. Yes.
I like
how she says she didn't say that I use a physical planner book. She says that I am a physical planner book.
Is a physical planner book. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I use a digital calendar and a planner book, but we do have the one that we got from the Chinese restaurant that's hanging up in the pantry.
Yeah,
I
there
use
we go.
Post-it notes all over the place, and I've literally written on my hand before. So
Alden
she's right about me. Yeah.
Seems like she's right about most of us. That's pretty spot on.
That's
the only reason I use a digital
creepy.
calendar is because Nikki basically instilled that in me at this point in time.
I have outsourced my calendar to Haley. Like she is my calendar. So
yeah, that's basically what man.
So I lost one job.
There we go. I love it. All right, let's see what Ron Paul warned us about decades ago.
Everything.
Power of man. And it has become more sophisticated over the decades and over the centuries, more sophisticated now and more international in scope than ever before. So I see the issue of power and the control over money as being something that we cannot ignore, we must address. I believe closely associated with this is the issue of morality as well. By what moral right do we have to create purchasing power out of thin air? Whether it's done by the creation of credit or Federal Reserve notes, or whether it's the creation of SDRs in an international scope, by what right do they do this? Is it any more moral to dilute the value of your purchasing power of the money you hold in your wallet than it is for the farmer to dilute the milk supply with water? I would say there's an issue of morality here just as strong as the issue of power. I also happen to believe also, because it's a moral issue more than an economic issue, it is for this reason that the people have lost trust in their government, trust in the banks, trust in business, trust in themselves, and that we are a nation of
Yeah, she was so good.
Someone should tell him about skim milk.
The dark-haired Ron Paul is just like, it just makes me want to ride a horse with a sword.
Well, this is your weekly reminder that Ron Paul is always right. So.
There we go.
So I know there's an Alex Jones bucket that people put money into every time he was right. Is there any tally where Ron Paul has like notched?
If you had
he was a wrong mark.
If you had a bucket that you put $1 into every time Ron Paul was wrong, you'd have $0 in that bucket.
That's
and you might even be a guard at Fort Knox.
Unless your government redefined what is wrong to then accept dollars into the bucket. Yeah, like we redefined what a vaccine is.
Well, yeah, in that case, he's wrong about everything.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
It all depends, you know.
So either you're super wealthy or you're super poor. That's basically what this is.
What is wealth? You know.
See, and he talks about the guy, putting water in the milk supply and all that kind of stuff. I always wondered who designed the milk jugs the certain way. This guy has to be a millionaire. It's designed specifically so you spill that first little sip of milk on your counter.
Maybe this needs to go on the conspiracy wheel.
Right.
Everyone knows you sip the first bit out of there.
Yeah, 1 sip of milk a week per family. How many more gallons of milk is that per year? The guy is so rich.
Goodness
what was that Heineken ad for like a Super Bowl or something where it listed the amount of beer spilled a year, like as through people like cheersing or whatever? It was hilarious. And never mind.
Funny.
I'll never remember what Super Bowl it was, but
anyway. All right, next one up. One of our favorites currently in Congress, Mr. Thomas Massey. This is just ridiculous. This is the House voting on the largest fiscal relief measure in U.S. history last Friday.
Of the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purposes, gentlemen, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I came here to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber, and I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise and remain standing until counted. An insufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is refused. Mr. Gentleman recognized.
I object on the basis that a quorum is not present and make a point of order that a quorum is not present.
The chair will count for a quorum. Counted for a quorum is present. The motion is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
So there you go. The CARES Act passed, y'all.
He does what he can.
He does everything he possibly can. I love Thomas Massey.
Yeah, he's just a good dude, and he's just there trying to make the best of things. And
I even love the guy from South Carolina that cracked a beer while he was on his way out. You can't have that here, and he's like, listen, I'm talking to people right now.
Lighting your cigarette as you leave the door, like
I mean, just think about it. It was clear in those chambers that not everybody was there. They barely had enough for a quorum. They didn't mention how many they needed for a quorum. I mean, obviously, we're not privy to all the proceedings, but it's in their daggum rules. But
you can go look up their rules. It's just
it's true.
Who wants to do that?
He was voting on the largest fiscal relief measure in U.S. history.
I mean, which was only bigger than the one that was passed the year prior.
Correct. It just keeps on getting bigger and dadgum bigger. Like that just printed trillions of dollars. Just passing that one thing.
That just diluted our milk.
Of dollars. That diluted our dadgum milk, and I love my milk.
Give me that whole milk.
That added 11 countries to the BRICS alliance.
There we go.
Is what that did.
Yeah, I love how he protested too.
No, I'm serious. They just had the Durban Accords last week, and they're trying to annex another 11 countries into the BRICS alliance. Now, we're not in immediate danger of the petrodollar being dethroned, right? Because for something to be considered the global reserve currency, there has to be some level of free-flowing capitalism associated
Global
with
reserve.
this currency.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Chinese yuan is going to supersede us in any time soon. But as they gain traction, we know that.
I think 60 countries have applied to become a part of the BRICS.
There you go. More and more nations worldwide are saying, well, at least it's the dictator I know rather than the friend that's going to stab me in the back.
If things keep going, we're going to end up using wheat as currency again. So I'm not worried about it. Just going to grow wheat.
Bitcoin, yo. We don't.
Or salt.
We got Bitcoin.
Am I the only one with 100 pounds of salt in my basement right now?
I got about 20 pounds.
As it currently stands now, you can't use yuan as the global reserve currency because China has really strict export controls on it. But I was listening to the what?
I was going to make that same point also. So
I was listening to the latest episode of the Human Action podcast, which had on friend of the show Peter St. Onge, and he was making the point that China's economy is in a really bad spot right now because for the past several years they've been taking everybody's saved retirement savings and investing them into real estate developments that have just been laying empty for several years. They've got whole cities that they've built full of buildings, these huge skyscrapers that literally nobody lives in.
Well, and another Chinese developer today said that they were likely going to default. They were, I don't know, a bunch of $1 billion behind, and they're saying, hey, we're going to default. I can't remember which one it was.
Well, there's a couple of them that have multi-trillion-dollar portfolios that are going tango uniform. And, there were several years in the early 2010s that rebar was cheaper than cabbage over in China. Now, some of that could have been due to the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, ARA, under Obama. As totalitarian as it was, it forced local manufacturers to buy American iron. And
Country Garden.
What's that?
Country Garden warned of default yesterday. China's Country Garden, one of the largest real estate developers, is facing a potential default with around $190 billion in debt. They reported significant losses in the first half of this year and has recently sold stock to repay its debts. So between what is it, Evergrande is the other one that's still scraping by, but I mean, China's got issues.
Yeah. So the moral of the story being is that when you have a communist government or a state capitalist government, whatever you want to call the government of China, that whatever you call it is deeply invested in the entire economy, there's no way to avoid huge amounts of malinvestment. And so
it would be Winnie the Pooh capitalism, I think we could call it.
So you're a weekly reminder that even though China is big and powerful, they're not as big and powerful as a lot of people are afraid that they are because they're communist and communism sucks.
Right. I mean, a lot of the development came from the fact that they had technology paired with a very poor, very poor large population, which you end up mixing with, you mix that poor large population with the technology and you get a lot of efficiency really quick in making, cheap shit for export. But that only goes on so long, and
eventually they want air conditioning.
Yeah.
It's just facts, man.
That, and eventually, and your one-child policy has now stunted your growth, and you're in a population decline, or you're in a projected population decline that you're not going to get out of anytime soon. And basically, you're coasting on what technology it is, but you're basically caught up. So, I mean, yeah, you're a threat, but you're also in just as bad of a situation as everyone else around the world. And the whole China fear in my mind is completely overplayed by people who want war on stuff. So
all right, well, let's move on to
that's not to say they couldn't take Taiwan. They might be able to take Taiwan, but at what cost, right?
Well, I mean, they did Hong Kong. What happened to them?
Nothing.
Right.
Although
All right.
that's a little bit different because there's a bridge right to Hong Kong versus, you got to cross 90 miles of ocean to get to Taiwan.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, Clint Russell tweeted this out, X'd this out.
When are we getting Clint on the show?
I'm not
right after Peter St. Ange.
All right, let's get him on the list. Reach out, Jake. You got this.
Pass. All right, here we go.
Intel agencies have a big effect on what is broadcast on television and what you see on Facebook and Google as well. I mean, they're all up and down Facebook and Google, as I'm sure you know. And, there are a lot of anchors who, including people I know well and have worked with at different networks. I'm thinking of one in particular, national security reporter, who was just a mouthpiece for the Pentagon and the CIA and is knowingly telling lies on their behalf. It's very, very common, very common. And I can think of a number of people at CNN who I know for a fact are doing that exact thing. And so, I mean, they're reading government propaganda from the intel agencies knowingly. And I'm sure they've got some internal rationale that allows them to get up in the morning and face themselves despite having done something that dishonest. But I'm just telling you, bottom line, I know that is true. I'm not speculating at all.
We all know
and in
that's true.
particular,
because his dad was what?
Stuff, there are very well-known national security reporters, and I'm thinking of one female national security reporter in particular, who just reads lies from the national security state. And it's wildly frustrating. And it would just make me mad. I mean, even if I don't agree with the lies, okay, but even if I did agree with the lies, I would be offended because they're lies. They're lies. Like when when CIA and the Pentagon were claiming that Bashar al-Assad used poison gas against his own people. Okay, there was no evidence that was true. I mean, maybe it was true. There was no evidence it was true. None. Zero. And I called them out, and they could not provide any evidence. And yet every national security, and it was a big deal. I mean, we killed a lot of people in response. We sent in missiles and killed a lot of people. We took human life in response to that claim. And it was, as far as I can tell,
so
there we go. Well, see, and one of the ways Tucker knows for a fact, because his dad did what for a living? It was he with DARPA? He was something. His dad was some kind of Fed.
Yeah.
I don't fully trust him, but he's not wrong on this point. I mean,
no, he's not wrong. Like the point is absolutely like correct.
I think
they had no evidence. They had no evidence that Assad.
Well, and then with CNN, the classic thing is the video from the 90s, the first Desert Storm. You got the guys they're doing this reporting, and then some bombs start going off in the background, and then I got to put on my helmet, and they put on like a bicycle helmet, some kind of crap, and it turns out they're on the rooftop of the building in the middle of Atlanta, Georgia. They're not in Iraq.
Yeah.
They have a green screen backdrop, and they drop down, and like you see one of the other buildings in the skyscape behind them, because like they dropped past the green screen at one point. It was so crappy, and that was one of the things that was justified, is like why we're over there.
Yeah, it's idiotic, man. Well, after last week's episode, we have to make a small correction. Maybe Russians are convinced Wagner warlord Prigozhin is still alive as conspiracy spreads that Putin killed body double.
I kind of had a suspicion. I mean, you had to be pretty dumb to get on a plane over Russia if you were him.
Well, and the pronouncement of death came pretty like
instantaneously.
Yeah, it was instant, and then people.
And I've heard
X or
both
Twitter,
of his
whatever
planes
it is,
were in
that-
the air at the same time.
There was another Prigozhin plane that was over Moscow simultaneously, and they were like, "Prigozhin's not dead; he's landing in Moscow right now."
But that one fell into a black hole.
Yes. Well, I mean, there was definitely some bodies recovered from this one.
And this is the most interesting quote. Vladimir Putin was perfectly aware that his double was flying instead of him.
Yeah.
Interesting quote. Interesting quote.
Well, and it's pretty weird too that so he dropped that recruitment video from Africa, from Niger, because we were talking about, throwing oil on the fire. The Niger coup, there's an oil pipeline involved. Lo and behold, and he's dropping a recruitment video down there because, like, wait a second, what are the Wagner forces doing in Niger? And then, like, the next day, he drops a video talking about, we're here to bring peace and freedom across the globe in Niger and everywhere across Africa.
I mean, they're mercs. They go where they're paid. So
it's true.
But he was out there repping for Russia hard, talking about, like, we're bringing peace to the scene. Everything's okay because we're here. And then it was less than a week later that he's flying back to Moscow. It just kind of.
I think the major part of the story that we missed there was the line that said that Prigozhin has access to 1.6 billion in Bitcoin. I personally find this quite bullish for Bitcoin.
I mean, I think the weirdest thing about this whole story is that apparently we're pronouncing it Niger. Is that the pronunciation
your brother
of it?
corrected us on that one.
My brother said it was Niger and not Niger.
Yes.
My brother's an idiot, so don't listen to him. I will not pronounce it Niger. That sounds pretentious and stupid.
Well, you just did twice.
Shut your mouth, Zane.
That's the
exception to the rule.
I grew up in really like sticks redneck Florida, and someone tried to spray paint.
How you pronounce it?
No. It's not my pronunciation of the word or whatever. I was gonna say someone tried to spray paint a common racial slur all over someone's house where I grew up. But they're so dumb they don't know how to spell it, and they used one G, and so it was Niger all over the driveway and the house. And honestly, like right there, it just encapsulated like who was the idiot. I don't know.
All right.
I was gonna say that Niger does seem like the much safer pronunciation.
It does seem safer. Laura says it's because it was colonized by the French. However, I stand by my statement that it is pretentious because French is pretentious.
I'm on Jake's side now. Side now.
If it was any other language,
we can go to Niger one day and have some freedom fries. How about that?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it's Alden's time of the show to shine. Alden. You watch the videos that you have sent. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so it's 9/11 conspiracy theory time. What are you calling this segment?
Start with the other one.
Start with the other one?
Yeah, start with Silverstein, because Carrie's commenting on someone asking about Silverstein.
Gotcha. All right, well, here we go.
In the event of any damage to the buildings, it was my obligation to repair the damage or replace whatever is necessary, to do it as quickly as possible, like kind, like quality.
Oh, wait, no, stop.
The obligation now is to put it back.
What?
This is the one that I sent you okay, so just for context, I typed in the same thing on YouTube to try to track down this video that I knew existed, and YouTube has scrubbed it. And this is the one that I was telling you is like painting Larry Silverstein as like a hero.
Right.
So like this is the one that we don't necessarily need to watch this one. This is painting him as a hero that took the billions of dollars that he made from the insurance claims for the towers into building a new tower and makes him like the city hero or whatever. This is the top of the result when you type in the same keywords here in YouTube. I had to go to BitChute to find what I was looking for. So we can watch this if you want by contrast, but
I don't know who was talking, but we're 12 seconds in and he's already sold me a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, Larry Silverstein is the private leaseholder of the Twin Towers when the planes hit.
So the video we were watching was painting him as a hero, and this is
that's what YouTube has to say about him. Like,
and this is what BitChute has to give you. Here we go.
This is Carrie. Did I send you a third one that was
I don't think
him?
you did.
Yeah, I think it either didn't go through, but I definitely sent it. But
oh wait, I think I found it.
Yeah,
let me get it in there.
So play that one first, and then the Carrie one.
Here we go.
I don't want to listen to the hero one again.
Fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they're going to be able to contain the fire. I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
So this was a PBS interview, and this snuck out. And then in the years after this, they tried to scrub this from the internet. They tried to, because they changed the narrative. They were like, no, wait, we didn't pull it. We didn't control demo it. You know, it fell because of some piece of the building hit it or it caught on fire or whatever. So they changed the narrative on it. So they tried to get rid of this and walk it back. So that was the private leaseholder of the buildings saying it. And then now there's John Kerry at the time, on tour presidential candidate, basically confirming the same thing.
Interesting. Here we go.
So a question I have for you. World Trade Center 7 was brought down on September 11th at 5:20 in the evening. The leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, Larry Silverstein,
Freaking lurch.
gave a
Good
public
grief.
interview on PBS in 2002, and he said that they
$400 a haircut right there,
which
folks.
is a demolition term for intentionally bringing down a building. This man made over $5 billion from those buildings' destruction. And I want to know if there was ever a formal investigation into Larry Silverstein, the leaseholder of the World Trade Center complex, and his ties to this entire event.
I don't believe there's been a formal investigation. I haven't heard that. I don't know that. I do know that that wall, I remember, was in danger, and I think that they made a decision based on the danger that it had of destroying other things, that they did it in a controlled fashion.
There you go.
So you got two people, the leaseholder and a presidential candidate, basically confirming, or at least saying at that time, that it was decided to pull the building in a controlled fashion. And then later, this is only in 2002 and in 2004 or whatever. And later, everyone was like, wait, no, that's can't be done in a matter of hours. You need a long time to go in there and set it up. So that's been proven not possible. Our new thing is that it just fell of its own accord in its own footprint. But these are things that I've been holding on to for years.
Without
these
being
clips.
struck by a plane or any other major structural damage.
No, exactly.
And normal fire temperatures don't, wouldn't weaken it. No other skyscraper has ever collapsed.
Not from fire.
So going into Labor Day weekend, if you needed a reason to not feel bad about having Heinz ketchup on the table, he's admitting it was controlled demolition, right?
What's the Heinz
ketchup? Is the only acceptable ketchup.
John Kerry's his wife is the heir to the Heinz ketchup.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But it's the only acceptable ketchup.
Coming from the Pittsburgh guy,
there's no other acceptable ketchup.
Okay, Nick.
No, do you know how serious it's taken here?
Yeah, no, I understand.
The local
Heinz
amusement
Fields,
parks,
I get it.
The local
Jake, do you
amusement
remember,
park, someone at the amusement park, someone up in corporate there, switched it to Hunts once, and the news got out before the park opened for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole city threw a tantrum until they said, "Oh no, it's gonna be Heinz. Don't worry."
And Pittsburgh burned to the ground.
It was a
but the
news story
trees
for
were
a
fine.
week because they were like, you can't have Kennywood without Heinz ketchup. It was literally.
All right, y'all. We're to the. I have 3 funny videos to show, and then we're out. This one's super short. My politics in 2016. My politics in 2024.
It doesn't matter. You can see everything's coming to a head. All you people that love the system, just enjoy it. Just enjoy global depression. Just enjoy the rioting, the checkpoints, the wars, just all of it. It's what you want. And quite frankly, we all deserve it.
Peak male performance. That is it.
That's the most I've ever agreed with Alex's joke.
Yep. I fully agree with that.
All right, next one. Here we go.
Did you know you're temporarily blocked?
No, this is not AI. This is a brand new, revealed today, wind-powered cargo ship. Designed by America's Cup engineers, the cargo ship is going to launch from China and carry a shipment of grain to Denmark. Engineers are saying that it could save up to 3 tons of fuel per day. In other tech news, this is a sneak peek at Nintendo's next console. This is a prototype for the iPhone 24. And the way gas prices are going, this is the 2027 Honda Civic. I know what you think.
Yeah, so freeze on that. Does that look like the white flag of surrender to anybody else? I mean, like just like calling that, because there were news outlets calling that the first wind-powered cargo ship. Like the Dutch East India Trading Company never existed.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I think I've made this point, but this whole story about wind-powered cargo ship keeps popping up every couple. Well, it's been every couple months. It's been popping up recently, but it goes back like 10 years that you get 10, 15, 20 years. You keep finding this wind-powered cargo ship story coming around. So. Yeah, but also I think it's a very interesting, just that whole video. I find it very interesting about the point he was making, where if you get rid of fossil fuels, you create poverty, because everything you had there it was just poverty, right?
Yep.
Horse-drawn carriages, landline phones, just peak poverty by getting rid of the fossil fuels. So
hey,
taking care of a horse is
before candlelight, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
I said, you know what the socialists used before candlelight, right?
Light bulbs.
Electricity.
That's right.
That's good.
Yeah, I know that I've said this on the show before, but I'll say it again. Climate alarmism is anti-human and wishing death on billions of people. So
you are the carbon they want to reduce.
There we go. That should be the title of the show, or the subline. All right, here we go. Final video of the day. How's your year going, y'all?
No, I can't. No.
Dadgummit.
Yeah, this one's.
It's just shit. Look at my back. Man, we've got to go back, honestly.
Guys just cannot catch a break. Oh,
that feels
man.
about right. Yeah.
I just did this up in Blue Ridge. We were up there for July 4th weekend. Had a cabin with the wife, and it was raining. And I was like, "Sweetie, let's go walk across the creek. There's a little bridge over there. It'd be romantic. We're in the woods. The rhododendrons around. I'm in my element." And I take my first step on that wet bridge. Bam! I mean, just pancaked backwards, rolled over, fell off the bridge. It was like a 2-foot drop down to the rest of the ground. And I'm like, I got the wind knocked out of me, and I'm down. I'm like, gasping for air. And she's like, "Sweet, oh my God, are you okay?" And I look up, I'm like, ants. And I had to get up and run. Oh my God.
I haven't had the wind knocked out of me in 20 years. That's hilarious.
Gosh, it's been a while since that happened. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, y'all, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Keep commenting. Drop a like on the video. All you over on Rumble, I apologize that we cannot see your comments over here. I apologize that at some point I'm going to start doing this on OBS, and we will be able to see your comments and return, put them up on screen and everything. So thank y'all for watching. Appreciate it. Anybody else got any last words before we head out?
LPGeorgia.com.
LPGeorgia.com. There we go.
Follow us for more goodness like this, and
heck yeah.
Like the shooting range, the shooting day we just had with Osprey Shooting Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
What we got coming up?
We got a anti-digital surveillance
bar
pub crawl
in
Savannah.
There we go.
Any excuse to get down to Savannah, right, and go drink.
Heck yeah.
I would do a pub crawl in Savannah. Yeah.
Hey, just by the
Alden,
way,
you want to go with me?
You might want to get a hotel in Pooler.
When is this?
Because Savannah
Here,
and
I'll
Chatham
pull it up.
County just put this new hotel tax in place, where the fees and the taxes equal the rate of the hotel room per night. It is horrible.
Yeah, I'll sleep in my car.
So you might want to stay in Pooler or somewhere just outside of Savannah, because that is
Jake's got a
I'm taking
van.
I'm taking this thing. You can
Yeah.
You crash in Jake's van.
Yeah.
But
It's only one person, and that person is Alden.
I was gonna shout out to Green Truck Pub in Savannah. Also had my favorite ketchup, by the way.
Homemade ketchup.
before.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah.
Is it homemade?
I know
Savannah-
it's blasphemy, but what's
Savannah
that?
pub crawl
Is it
to
homemade
banish
by
Big
Heinz?
Brother.
No.
September 30th from 7 to 11 p.m. Saturday, September 30th, 7 to 11 p.m.
I'm gonna write it down on my calendar.
There we go.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you're in the
look
Savannah
up.
area, or you want to come enjoy a pub crawl through Savannah, which, by the way, is an open carry alcohol city. You can carry.
That's
well,
With
I
your
mean,
AR-15 on your back.
Georgia's an open carry state, so you can do both.
Well, yeah, Savannah's close enough to Fort Stewart too.
Usually
Whatever.
there's questions about can you drink with a gun on your hip, and
That's what I was.
the answer is
Yeah.
usually no.
Well,
To mix it is-
questions. I don't really care about questions. Just give me the answers. You know, I'm gonna
Just
do
don't make
either
it
way.
visible.
There
Keep
we
it in
go.
your sock or something. You know.
There we go. All right,
there's
y'all.
no 51% signs in Georgia like in Texas, Jake. So
There we go. All right. Well, here we go. That's it for this week. Tune in to Free Georgia Podcast on Monday night. I'm sitting down with Mr. Dave Benner to talk about his new book about Thomas Paine.
I like that guy.
Dave Benner's awesome. Tune in next week to more Liberty Libations at 8 p.m. Eastern here on our YouTube channel, Rumble channel, Facebook, Twitter.
Join the Bitcoin caucus.
That's it. Join the Bitcoin caucus. All right, y'all. That'll do it. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.